Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Energy is contagious. Whether people realize it or not, the mindset of the people around you will shape how you think, act, and ultimately what you achieve. This law isn't about lacking compassion, it's about understanding influence. The biggest danger isn't just negative people, it's people who constantly operate with a victim mentality. People who blame circumstances, other people, the economy, timing, anything except themselves. That mindset is dangerous because it feels logical on the surface, but underneath it removes responsibility. And once responsibility is gone, progress stops. These people don't just have problems, they identify with their problems. And when someone identifies with their problems, they stop looking for solutions. They sit happily in the mess that they created. And that's where the infection begins. The reason it's called infection is because it spreads quietly. You don't adopt it overnight. First you listen, then you slowly start agreeing, then you start justifying, and before you realize it, your thinking starts to shift. You start seeing limitations where there used to be opportunities, and you start accepting things as impossible. And that's how people slowly lose their edge. They don't fall off at once, they get influenced over time. That's why you have to be extremely aware of who you surround yourself with, because proximity shapes belief, and belief shapes action. I've experienced this firsthand. I remember when I was trying to buy my first property, I was focused on just getting one house for my family, something safe, something reasonable. And the person I was working with at the time, my realtor, pushed me to think differently. He told me, buy two instead of one. I remember saying to him, I don't know how to do that. And he said, that's fine, I can show you. The first step is deciding that it's possible. He didn't let me sit in uncertainty or default to limitation. He shifted my thinking first, then he showed me a path. That conversation alone changed the trajectory of what I believed I could do. Fast forward a few years and I had built up to 3 properties. At the time, I was proud of myself. COVID had hit, things felt uncertain, and I thought I had done enough. I reached out to him, asked him if he could go for a coffee. We went to Starbucks. I remember sitting there explaining my plan. I told him I'm going to slow down, focus on paying off debt, and just kind of hold on to what I have. The bank had told me I'd likely need a few years before I could scale again, and I accepted that. In my mind, it made sense. It felt responsible. I'll never forget his reaction. He looked at me and said, that's it? That's your plan? Give me a good reason why you shouldn't have 10 in the next 2 years. It completely caught me off guard. I remember trying to explain the situation again, what the lender said, what the constraints were, but he cut right through that. And he said, you've already decided it's not possible. That's the problem. If you believed it was possible, you'd move heaven and earth to find a way. That hit me so hard because in that moment, I realized I had slipped into a form of victim thinking without even noticing it. I wasn't blaming people directly. I was accepting limitations as fixed. I was letting external conditions define what I thought was achievable. And that's how subtle it is. The victim mentality doesn't always sound like complaining. It often sounds like being realistic. But I look back and I had not surrounded myself with forward-thinking people. I had surrounded myself with the same old friends, same old family members that were all comfortable. I left that meeting completely different. For the next couple weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about it. My perspective has shifted. Instead of asking, can I do this? I started asking, how can I do this? And that one shift changed everything. Within the next 2 years, I didn't get to 10, but I did get to 6. I added 3 more properties, all because someone forced me to think at a higher level. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine if I sat down with someone negative, someone with a victim mentality. They would have told me, hey, you've done enough. Market's risky, COVID's happening, you should slow down. Maybe even sell. Who knows what's going to happen to the market? And if I had listened to that, which I probably would have, I would have stayed stuck. Not because I couldn't grow, but because I stopped looking for ways to grow. That's the power of influence. The people around you either expand your thinking or shrink it. There's no neutral. In business, this shows up everywhere. One person with a victim mentality on a team, someone who blames, complains, avoids responsibility, can quietly lower the standard for everyone. They normalize excuses, shift conversations away from solutions and towards problems, and over time, performance drops. That's why people at the highest level are extremely careful about who they bring into their circle. It's not personal, it's strategic. The same applies to clients and partnerships. If you're constantly dealing with people who are negative, reactive, and difficult, it drains your energy and it clouds your thinking. You start operating at a lower level because your environment is pulling you there. Smart operators eventually realize that not all opportunities are worth taking. Sometimes the most powerful move is to walk away and protect the mindset. On the flip side, when you surround yourself with people who think bigger, act decisively, and take ownership, it forces you to level up. It expands what you believe is possible. It raises your standards without you even realizing it. And that's exactly what happened to me. Getting around someone who had already built massive success, someone operating at a completely different level, forced me to confront how small I was thinking. And that's the real lesson of this law. That doesn't mean that you abandon people that are going through hard times. Everyone struggles. That's not the issue. The issue is people who stay stuck in that mindset, people who refuse to take ownership, people who are committed to their problems instead of committed to solutions. Because if you stick around people long enough, it will affect you. Slowly, quietly, but inevitably. So get around the right people. Are the people around you reinforcing your growth, or are they reinforcing your limitation? Because whether you realize it or not, you are being influenced every single day. And the power comes from choosing influence deliberately, choosing to put people around you and choosing to make sure you are in a position where you are around people who think bigger, have higher goals, and can help you raise your standards up to their level. Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.